السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we'll go ahead and start. Sorry about the technical error over there. So inshallah, just go ahead and begin. So as we were speaking before we got cut off, inshallah, today will be the last and the final episode of the Seerah, and we'll probably try to make it more brief now that we lost about almost 8 minutes. But if we remember from yesterday, we had covered the Fatih Makkah, the conquest of Makkah al-Mukarramah. Now that leads us to the last chapter in the life of the Prophet. So immediately after Fatih Makkah, there were pretty much 3 things or 4 things that happened, right? The first was the Battle of Hunain, right? Number 1. Right after the Battle of Hunain, an extension of the Battle of Hunain was the siege of Taif. Then after that is Tabuk, the Battle of Tabuk. And then essentially after that is the farewell Hajj, right? So the Battle of Hunain happens immediately after the Fath Makkah. Tribes that are around that decide to band together and oppose the Prophet. So the Prophet, along with the 10,000 Sahaba that came to him for the Fath Makkah, and an additional 2,000 who accepted Islam from Makkah al-Mukarramah, he goes to a place called Hunain. And over here, the leader of this group at Hunain, his name is Malik bin Auf. And he is gathered with a huge army to face the Muslims. So the Muslim army is around 12,000. And what this person does, Malik bin Auf, in order to encourage his troops, he decides to bring his families, his women and children within the battlefield, so that the men would actually fight with more zeal in order to protect their family. But that actually backfires. One of the things that happens to the Muslims before this battle is they look at their numbers, and they had never had such enormous numbers, right? In Badr, there were very few ill-armed. In Uhud, in Khandaq, every time they were outnumbered. So at this point, when they saw their large numbers, they said, we'll never be defeated. We beat these guys with just small numbers. Now we have a huge army. Nothing's going to defeat us, right? But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches a lesson to the Muslims that it doesn't matter, numbers don't matter, right? You can have a small number and Allah can give you victory with that. And you can have a large number, and if Allah's support is not with you, then you can really get into trouble. So as the Muslim army is going, the army of Hunain is basically hidden within the mountains, and they start shooting the Muslim army as soon as they're coming. And as soon as that happens, the army starts getting confused, and they're being hit by arrows, and they start retreating. And as they start retreating, this is one of the times, actually there are many times in the bravery of the Prophet is displayed, but this is one time where, in spite of the entire army now in complete confusion, the Prophet leads the army, right? And he goes on, completely marches forward, although the people are moving backward. And very few Sahaba again are with him. Abu Sufyan and Abbas radiallahu anhu are with him. And he marches onward saying, I am a Nabi and I don't lie. Ana Nabi la kazib. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib, right? And then he asked Abbas to give a shout out to the Ansar and the Muhajirin. And as Abbas shouts out, each group comes up and gathers to the Prophet. So anyways, that's how the beginning of the battle takes place. Then it turns a tide. The Prophet gathers everybody, and eventually they win. As a matter of fact, what happens is the army runs away. The army of the Kuffar runs away. And they actually go into and escape into a place called Taif. Now, Taif has multiple forts, and they escape there. leaving their children and their families and their booty behind. And now in Taif, what happens is the Prophet ﷺ now sieges Taif for a few days. However, the Muslim army is not able to conquer those forts. So the Prophet ﷺ makes dua. The Muslims ask the Prophet ﷺ to make to curse the people of Taif. Rather, he makes a dua to the people of Taif and says, "Oh Allah, guide Banu Thaqif," and he returns back to Makkah. Now, as he returns back to Makkah, one of the things that happens over here is a distribution of the war booty or collections, right? So what happens is when the Prophet ﷺ comes back, now there's a lot of wealth that's captured, right, from the people who just lost. Now the Prophet ﷺ is distributing that wealth, and now he is giving a large amount of wealth to the leaders of the Quraysh and the people of the Quraysh, right? He's given Abu Sufyan, he's giving Muawiyah, his son, he's giving Safwan bin Umayyah, and he's basically giving out so much wealth that the Quraysh start feeling, subhanAllah, what a noble person, that we just oppose him so much. In spite of that, just few days ago, we were his arch enemies, and now he's giving us so much. So as that is happening, there is a talk that goes on within the Ansar, right? And the Ansar, some of the younger people of the Ansar, they start saying, "Oh, look, we were with him for all these years. Now, when he has gained the upper hand on them, he's giving back to his family and he's not giving anything to us." So the Prophet ﷺ then calls the Ansar, right? He gets an exclusive meeting with the Ansar, and he asks them. He asks the leader of the Ansar, Sa'd bin Ubadah, "Is this what the people are saying?" The Sa'd says, "Yes, this is what I hear, and I'm a man amongst them." So then the Prophet ﷺ makes that beautiful statement, right, where he tells the Ansar that, were you not misguided and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you towards me, with me, and were you not divided and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala join you because of me? And then he tells the Ansar, "Why don't you reply to me?" And they say, "What should we reply?" You say, "Were you not helpless and left by your people and we help you?" And then the Prophet ﷺ says to the Ansar, "Would you not be satisfied that the people go away with herds of sheep and cattle, and you go home with the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" And hearing this, the Ansar, they start crying to a point that their beards are red. So the Prophet ﷺ, basically gives the Ansar a tasalli, a consolation, saying, "I am going to be with you. Don't worry. This is wealth. I'm giving this so that people get more attracted to Islam." And then finally, he heads back to Madinah al-Munawwara. Now, the next battle that happens in Madinah al-Munawwara is the Battle of Tabuk. The Battle of Tabuk. And the Battle of Tabuk, again, we talked about a little bit when we were talking about the incident of the people who left behind, Ka'b bin Malik, if you remember. So Tabuk basically was a response to the Battle of Muta. If you remember, that's the battle where Zayd bin Harith and Abdullah bin Rawaha and Ja'far bin Abi Talib were martyred. So Prophet now marches. There's a rumor, or there's a news that comes on that the Byzantines and the Romans are attacking with a huge army. So Prophet basically takes the entire army of Medina, entire adult population of Medina, and he marches towards Tabuk. And then we see an amazing display of sacrifice. Abu Bakr gives his entire wealth, and when asked, he says, "Allah and His Rasul are enough for me." Umar gives half as well. Uthman gives so much wealth that Prophet says, if after this, Uthman does not have to do anything. And some Sahaba, they come wanting to participate, but the Prophet does not have enough arms to give them to get ready for the travel. So they return away crying. But they go away all the way to Tabuk. Again, Tabuk is a no-show, and then they come back. And then 3 people from amongst the Muslims, in spite of having ample provisions, they don't go. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives them after a period of 50 days. And we talked about this. So, and then the final thing that happens is the farewell Hajj. Now, before the farewell Hajj, the Prophet a year before that, he sends Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu as his representative, the Hajj before the farewell Hajj. And that's where the Prophet Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu declares the Bara'ah, right? The Surah Tawbah is revealed, and all the covenants and all the treaties that were made before with the people of the tribes surrounding Makkah al-Mukarramah, they are now obsolete. and Makkah is now going to be reserved exclusively for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now that's the next thing that happens. That's the next thing that happens. And then finally you have the next year the Prophet ﷺ goes on with the farewell Hajj. And that is the time when between the Hajj of Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu and between the farewell Hajj, you have a lot of delegations. You have a lot of delegations that come one by one to the Prophet ﷺ, and then some of them accept Islam, some of them sign peace treaties, but eventually everybody are surrounding Makkah. A large part of the tribes have now accepted Islam. And then you have the farewell Hajj, and that's the final Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ, where he gives he goes with a large amount of Sahaba, and then the people say that the count of the Sahaba is around 125,000. At that time, the Prophet ﷺ gives a famous khutbah of the farewell Hajj, where he reiterates the rights of women, the rights of the weak, and then finally, the Surah Nasr is revealed during the farewell Hajj. And then the year after that, he returns to Medina al-Munawwara, and then is the final few days of the Prophet ﷺ, when he falls ill. And then again, there's a very long discussion of the illness of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Sahaba, the Muhaddithun and the people of Seerah, they talk about every single day of how the illness progresses. And in the final day, the Prophet ﷺ is in the house of Aisha radhiyallahu anha, and he's extremely sick. He's not able to go lead prayer. And then Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu is leading prayer, and the Prophet ﷺ lifts his curtain and he looks at his beloved Sahaba for the last time in his life. And the Sahaba are so excited. They're in the midst of prayer, and they get almost so excited where they're trying to move back, thinking the Prophet ﷺ might come. And he smiles at them, and then he signals them to continue to go to prayer. And that's the final time that the Sahaba look at the Prophet ﷺ. And then he's in his hujra, and he's with Aisha radhiyallahu anha. Fatima radhiyallahu anha comes to him, visit him. He gives her the bashara, he gives her the glad tidings that she will be the first amongst his family to join him. And finally, he is in the arms of Aisha radhiyallahu anha, when her brother comes in with a miswak, with a siwak. The Prophet looks at it, and she basically wets it for him, softens it for him, and gives it to him. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam does the miswak, and then finally saying the words Ar-Rafiqul Ala, Allahumma Rafiqul Ala, Prophet breathes his last and he passes away. So that, alhamdulillah, was a brief overview of the Seerah. Jazakallah khair for those of you that joined. Now, one of the things I realized as I was doing is I will be done. So one of the things that my goal was to basically give an overview of the Seerah, so that we get a sort of a roadmap or a mental framework of it. However, the Seerah is something so overwhelming that as I was trying to prepare this, there were so many interesting details, and I wanted to share all of those. And I think while doing that, I became so detailed that I kind of lost my purpose. So at times it might have become very, very, I guess, haphazard, and may not have been as effective as it should have been. But alhamdulillah, inshallah, that's for whatever it was. Inshallah, I'm hoping that there was some benefit to it. But what I like to do in the last few minutes is just go back one more time, so that the listeners will get in one shot how to keep the entire life of the Prophet ﷺ in their memory, right? So if you just go back, the way we're going to divide it is basically into 3 periods, right? 3 periods. The first period is the pre-prophethood. So this is the pre-prophethood, right? Pre-prophethood. And then in that, we talked about the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ, right? So he's Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. With Abdullah, we talked about that he passes away before the life of the Prophet. With Abdul Muttalib, we talked about the fact that he had a few amazing stories linked with him. When Abraha was coming with his army, the incident of the battles of the elephant, and then also the fact that he wanted to slaughter or one of his child. So which leads the Prophet to say, I am the son of two Zabihs, which is Ismail and Abdullah. So that's his lineage. Then is that's essentially his lineage. The second thing that we talk about in pre-prophethood is his birth, right? Is his birth. Now, with his birth, we remember the incident of Halima radhiyallahu anhu, where she takes him within the outskirts and where he lives there for a few years. Then we talk about a few years later, he's with his mother. Then his mother passes away. Then he's with his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, right? He's with his mother initially. Then he's with his grandfather. And then finally, he's with his uncle, Abu Talib, right? So this is his early childhood. And then the last part in pre-prophethood is we talked about his youth. And in his youth, we find out that he's exemplary. He's not involved in any of the activities that the people of Makkah were involved in. And also we talk about the fact that he is, there are people that already look into the signs of prophethood, right? We talked about the incident of Bahira when his uncle Abu Talib took him to Syria. There was a monk who was able to identify and see that there is something special about this child, and he tells Abu Talib that he's going to be the prophet. And then we talk about his marriage to Khadija radhiyallahu anhu and his amazing character that is completely displayed and is clear in Makkah al-Mukarramah, where even the Quraysh call him as-Sadiq al-Amin, and we remember about the incident of Hajr Aswad, where the Quraysh were almost about to fight, but the Prophet basically stopped that. So that's pre-prophethood, right? His lineage, his father, his grandfather, especially about his grandfather. We have to remember the incidents along with his grandfather, his birth. After his birth, he goes with Halima radhiyallahu anhu, then he's with his mother, his grandfather, and Abu Talib, and then his youth, his impeccable youth, and people identifying the amazing characteristics in his youth, and there's his marriage to Khadija radhiyallahu anhu. So that was pre-prophethood, right? And then is post-prophethood, right? Now between prophethood and between pre-prophethood and prophethood is obviously the wahi, and the wahi, of course, is a more famous incident, so we don't have to really go in detail upon that. We know that in the cave of Hira, Jibreel alayhi salam comes, gives him the wahi. He goes to his wife. His wife believes him. She takes him to Waraqah bin Nawfal, and Waraqah bin Nawfal again says, "You are the prophet, the promised prophet." Right. So after wahi is the Meccan period, right? The Meccan period, you can basically divide it into two periods, right? So the Meccan period is going to be early Meccan period and late Meccan period, right? Early Meccan period and late Meccan period. So the early Meccan period is, you can say, private dawah who accept Islam. His close family accepts Islam. So very few people accept Islam in the private dawah. And then you have the public dawah, right? Where you have, he goes on and then he proclaimed Islam publicly. That's where the atrocities start happening. And then after a point where that it is no longer tolerable, you have the migration to Abyssinia. You have the migration to Abyssinia. And then finally, you can say in the early part, you have the conversion of Umar radhiyallahu anhu, which is almost a kind of a turning point. So this is early Makkah, right? Late Makkah is when you have the ban. So where his family is banned, we remember the entire family of Prophet is banned and nobody is interacting with them. Then you have the year of sadness, right? The year of sadness is basically when his wife passes away, his uncle passes away, and then you have the incidents of Taif, where the Prophet is very, insulted and attacked. So then, as a consolation, he is given the Isra wal Mi'raj, right? That's the next incident that happens, Isra wal Mi'raj. And finally, in late Makkah is where you have the Treaty of Aqaba, right? Where you have the people from Madinah to Munawwara come in and they give bay'ah to the Prophet. So you have early Makkah and late Makkah. Very simple. He starts giving dawah privately, then he starts giving dawah publicly. It comes to a point where people can't tolerate the Meccan atrocities. They migrate to Abyssinia. Umar radhiyallahu anhu converts. Then you have the late Makkah, the ban, the year of sadness, when two of his most beloved supporters pass away. The incident of Taif, Isra wal Mi'raj, and then you have Aqaba. Then you have the Meccan period, the Medinan period, right? The Medinan period is also very, very simple to remember. You can divide it into early Medina and late Medina. Early Medina and late Medina. So early Medina again, you have it very simple. You have three battles, right? The first battle that happens, this is early Medina, and you have late Medina, right? Early Medina, the first battle that happens is the decisive battle of Badr, right? That's the first. The second thing that happens is the battle of Uhud, and the third thing that happens is the battle of Ahzab or Khandaq, the trench, right? Battle of Uhud, battle of Badr, we all remember, a very famous battle. The Muslims are very few. The archers misunderstand and disobey the order of the Prophet ﷺ, and then a victory is, you could say, turned into almost a defeat. However, technically it's not a defeat because the Prophet ﷺ continues to pursue the people in spite of being defeated. The third is the battle of Ahzab, the Confederates, where the entire Meccan tribes, the Qurayshi tribes, 10,000 people come, a trench is dug, and everybody is held off, right? Now, in between, there's, of course, many important incidents happening. You have the Banu Nadir, the Banu Qurayza, and the Banu Qaynuqa, the tribes, the Jewish tribes that are driven away. You have multiple incidences that's happening. But just as a very, very simple overview, in late Medina, you have the first thing that happened is Hudaybiyah, right? Sulh Hudaybiyah. So that's, when the Prophet the year before goes for Umrah, they don't let him do Umrah, they do the treaty. And then after Hudaybiyah, you have Fath Makkah, the conquest of Makkah, where the Quraysh break the treaty, and then the Prophet comes with 10,000 people, and Makkah is conquered. Then you have what we spoke about today, is the Battle of Hunain, right? And then the Battle of Taif is an extension of the Battle of Hunain. Then you have the final large expedition of the Prophet, which is Tabuk, and then is the farewell Hajj. So this really kind of gives you a quick bird's eye view, an overview of the entire life of the Prophet. And you can fill in, the details in the middle. Again, you can't read the Seerah of the Prophet without completing the conversions of the various Sahaba. So the entire time you have one person or the other becoming Muslim. You have Khalid bin Walid becoming Muslim. You have Amr bin al-As becoming Muslim. So people join the Prophet during various times of the entire Seerah. So again, that was really what I intended to initially give, and I kind of lost my purpose. But inshallah, hopefully that was of some benefit. So alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the tawfiq, to cover the entire Seerah of the Prophet within a matter of 8 days. Alhamdulillah. Of course, there's absolutely no justice. Whatever good came, it was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever things that were not up to par were my deficiency. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept that. And having said that, the last two things I'm going to leave you with is the Seerah of the Prophet is something that should be dear to our heart as Muslims, right? As I was going through this, you realize that, there is no story more entertaining, more passionate, more beautiful than the Seerah of the Prophet. As Muslims, we can never say that we're bored. We can never say that. You have the Seerah of the Prophet with you. It is better than any book in the world, better than any movie any person is going to create or even think about. It is the best story ever told, and you can read it and you can never get bored. So alhamdulillah, we have a lot of these. We should make it a point to, at least once a year, if not every few years, we should take a Seerah book and complete it from cover to cover. And that gives us the places the love of the Prophet in our heart, and gives us the tawfiq to continue to follow him. And finally, Jazakumullah khair again for being with us in this short few days of journey of the Seerah. And Ramadan Kareem, inshallah, for those of you who are following Global Sighting in Masjid Al-Huda, inshallah, Ramadan will start tonight. So I'm going to leave with these lines of the Seerah of the Prophet. Is as the Prophet passed away, the Sahaba were obviously very, very disturbed. And one of the things that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, just at that juncture where the entire Medina was in a state of chaos, one of the statements that that Muhammad passed away. And if you worship Allah, then Allah is alive and he's always going to be alive. Okay. And then he read the ayah, وَمَا Muhammad illa Rasul qad khalat min qablihi rusul. And Muhammad is but a Rasul, and other messengers have passed before him. So the question that we'll have to ask ourselves is, in this Ramadan, we're not going to have the support of the masajid, the support of the community. We're going to be, spending our Ramadan with our families, alhamdulillah, which is definitely good. But the question is, am I going to spend Ramadan just the way that I would in the masjid, right? Am I going to spend Ramadan because I don't have the masjid? Am I going to spend money or just because there are no fundraisers? Am I going to read Quran the way I would have done when I was in the masjid? So if our object is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we truly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it shouldn't make any difference to us. It shouldn't make any difference to us. If Allah let the masajid be open, then we're going to be there and we're going to worship. If Allah decides that the masajids are going to be closed, then we'll continue to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We continue to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the same fervor. Whether we're able to get that environment or not, yes, we're not going to have the Taraweeh. So am I really going to pray Taraweeh now that I don't have the Imam leading me? Or am I just going to sort of shortchange? Am I going to spend when we don't have fundraisers and people encouraging us to spend in the way of Allah? Or are we just going to withhold because now we don't have that encouragement? Are we going to, in the last 10 days of Ramadan, continue to push ourselves? Sheikh Saad, alhamdulillah, for the past 4 years was leading us in a structured itikaf, and now we're not going to have that structure. Are we going to just kind of, take it easy? Or are we going to recognize that Allah is our Rabb, whether we're in the masjid, whether we're not in the masjid, whether really it's Ramadan or it's not Ramadan? But of course, inshallah, in Ramadan, we want to be obviously more steadfast and more punctual with our worship. That's the question that I leave myself and all of us with. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our sitting, our listening. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the nur that comes out from the seerah. May that penetrate our hearts. May that give us the tawfiq to emulate the life of the Prophet ﷺ. May the love of the Prophet ﷺ become a part of our lives where we truly make the sunnah a part of our life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to worship Him this Ramadan in a manner that pleases Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do Taraweeh in our houses. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do tilawah of the Quran. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to shower blessings on our ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for the people throughout the Muslim world, the people who are suffering, whether it is hardship in health, whether it's economic hardship, whether it's hardship because of this pandemic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take this waba away from us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, keep us safe from it, and may He give us a tawfiq to find a cure for this. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our masjid again. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts all our du'as. May ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts our fasts, our ibadah, our tarawih, our tilawah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to spend in His cause in spite of the hardships that some of us may be facing because of this pandemic. May He continue to give us the tawfiq to worship Him till the day we die. Jazakumullah khair wa akhud dawana alhamdulillah. Inshallah, there will be a few minutes remaining for masjid. Inshallah, this will be a good time for all of us to engage in private dua and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the zeal to worship Him this Ramadan in a way that pleases Him. Wa akhir dawana alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. Ahsan jazak.